Alright, so here we are, we're going to make a GIF. First of all, make sure your timeline is out. If you don't have your timeline window out, go to Window, Timeline. That'll make it show up. So first of all, we're going to import the video that we're going to use, which should be import video frames to layers. The video I'm going to use is this little guy right here. It's going to be of Bragan. This window is going to show up when you click your video. You're going to take these brackets and use them to isolate the footage that you want to use. The longer that your video is, the closer your brackets are going to have to be to one another. That way you can minimize the amount of frames that are going to be in there. There's a maximum import amount of 500 frames. Tumblr GIFs can only be 2 megabytes large in terms of size. So you're going to want to have the least amount of frames as possible. If you still think, if you're using a large chunk of footage and you think that you might need like to cut down on it a little bit and you can't get your little tabs any further without missing like some important stuff, you just can click this button, limit it to every 2 or 3 frames, it'll still look pretty okay. Since you're going to be using like Mortal Kombat idle animations, I guess, to show off your outfits, you probably don't need to worry about that too much. Don't need to worry about using like a shitload of like of footage. So click OK, and it'll import all your shit into here, into this timeline. And it looks like we've got about 56 frames here. At this point, you can go ahead and crop it. Some people crop at different stages. I'm just going to crop it right now. So I have my little GIF. I just want Bragan in here. So there he is, Bragan. Woohoo! At this point, what we're going to do now is convert it to a video timeline. So you just basically just click that button and you're Gucci. See? All of these should be, the eyeballs should be visible now. So go over here to layers and select all your layers and convert it to a smart object. It's going to condense all this down to 1 here. And now that you have a smart object, you can actually sharpen your image and make it look nicer. I'm going to do smart sharpen. And hopefully that'll help a little bit. Obviously you do it to your own preferences. There's a whole lot of other stuff you can do in this step if you're looking to do something more complicated, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to skip that shit. So once you're here with your smart object, we're going to go back and, once we've like sharpened everything and all that stuff, what we're going to do is turn it back into like the other thing that was it before. You know what I mean. So we're going to go here to our timeline, convert frames, flatten frames into clips. That'll bring back all your layers and take it and stop it from being a smart object. It'll still be sharpened and all that. Go all the way down back to that one layer. Now it's not like highlighted, doesn't have the eyeball on it. Delete that shit. Don't need it anymore. It's done. Now we're gonna convert it to a frame animation. What you can do is you can literally just go here to this corner and do that. Make frames from layers. Now you've gotten everything back, and it still should, yeah. Now you've gotten everything back. Notice how it's not playing here. That's because it's got a 0-second delay, but a 1.87 second delay on the first one. So we're gonna have to fix that shit. Go ahead and select all your frames. Depending on the amount of delay you want, how fast you go, you can customize it. Usually I click other. I want this to be 0.06 seconds delay. That way it'll be somewhat fast. This isn't going to be true to what it'll look like on the internet yet. That part comes later when we're actually saving the GIF. Now that you have all that delay, now you can add coloring adjustments, make sure that it looks nice. So go over here to your layers and select the very top one. Mine's going to be frame number 55. Open up whatever PSD that you're using, or you can just make one yourself. Personally, I just download them and use those because I'm baby. Open, make sure that you're actually, looking at the right. I go to all formats, or you can just isolate it to PSD. Pictures for me. I have an edits folder, and I have a GIF PSD that I was going to use. Cool. So pull that window out so that it's sitting above this window with your GIF. Grab the group with the PSD and drag it over. Now it'll sit on top of all of the frames, and it'll actually animate it and put the coloring on all of them instead of it just being on one. At this point, you can probably fuck with the coloring, make it look nicer. This is pretty yellow, and I don't like it very much. So maybe I'll fuck around and change a little bit. I don't know. Whatever. Really? Is that it? Okay. Yeah, whatever. I don't like this very much with this GIF, but for the purposes, we'll just do that. So, it's all good now. You basically have your GIF done. Once all of that customization is done, File, we're going to actually export it. We're not going to do Save As, Export. Save for Web. Now that you're in here, see that you've got a nice looking GIF. If you press the play button, this is how fast that your GIF is actually going to be if you were to post it on the internet. So if you look over here in this corner, that tells you how big your GIF is. Because Tumblr only allows GIFs of 2 megabytes or smaller to be posted, this isn't going to fly. In which case, you probably either need to delete some of your layers, or you just need to make it smaller. This 481 pixel GIF is clearly not going to work. So right now I'm just gonna, it's a decent ratio, perfect square. I'm just gonna change it to 250 by 250 pixels, and that makes it smaller. Now it's under the limit. You can also probably do this whenever you convert it to a smart object. That's completely up to you. If you have to go back and do that, then go back and do that. But you press play, make sure that it still looks alright. This is what it's going to look like whenever it's on the internet. This speed here is the true to life speed. So once you have all that done, you just hit save it as whatever. This is Bragan.gif. Save it. I usually have a specialized folder, but I don't anymore. Save. And then you're Gucci. You should be able to post it on the internet after that. Wow, and now you've made a GIF. That's the simplest way to do it. Other people will put text on there, but there's tutorials for that. This is just a simple wham bam, done. There you have it, bitch.